Hi everyone, I'm Marge Clark. I am the founder of Nature's Gift. And y'all invited me to come and go live, which terrifies me, but that's okay. I'll do it anyway. And I was given a whole bunch of questions. And what I'm going to try to do is answer them. And if others come up in the comments, I'll introduce. And I'm being told I can bring a whole lot of you on camera, but since I didn't warn you, we won't do that this time. But Christina Smith, we're going to do that in Essential Learning. Anyway, questions that I was asked, and y'all really made me think. Marnie Sloan-Scassa, she asked 3. What oil do I love the most? Oh, that's an easy one. Rose, no doubt. Now, which one? Today it's the Damascena CO2. Sometimes it's Rosa Alba. I can't wait till I find more Rose Maroc. It was yummy. It was sweet and sunny. I don't want to live in a world without rose. I use it a lot. I use it for emotional and spiritual goodies. Hi, Edie. Hi, Sue. What oil do I hate the most? Omnivisnaga. Valerian. I'm not a fan of any of the medicinal ones, but those are the 2 that come to mind. And one of the new CO2s I can live without very happily. I forget which one. 3rd question from Marnie. What brought me to essential oils? And that's such a long story. It's sort of on my website. If you go to the About Us page, and then you go past the About Us page, you come to a blurb about me personally, and some of it's there. I'll share that story some other time, but it would take up a long time. Which do I like more, essential oils or CO2s? That depends. I love that the CO2 process gives us things that there are not essential oils of. Arnica, calendula. There's no calendula essential oil, and not everyone has the time or the patience or the raw ingredients to make their own herbal infusions. The CO2s give us that gift. Aromatically, the CO2 is almost always closer to the raw botanical. Look at the roses, look at frankincense CO2, look at sweet marjoram CO2. It's yummy. Sometimes the distilled is more effective, especially physically. So there's no answer. Which do you love best? I love the CO2s, but I use both. Hey, Ginger. Chris, thank you. Lavender CO2 is the prettiest lavender, period. That's all there is to it. Okay, Anjali Schechter. Some oils get better with age. What happens if the perfect sandalwood odor is reached? Does it then begin to deteriorate? Anjali, I've never had that happen. It could happen in theory. Does it reach its peak and then decline? In theory. But the point is, back perhaps 1990, Robert Seidel from the Essential Oil Company gifted me with a little 4-gram bottle, 4 mils, little tiny amber bottle about so high. it wasn't 5 mils of sandalwood Mysore distilled the year of my birth. Well, you know, even in 1990, that was old oil. I gifted half of it to Christopher at White Lotus. I met him at that year's Naha, and he was the sandalwood man then, so I thought he needed some. I gifted him half of it, and I am embarrassed to admit that I lost the other half. It's somewhere in my house. There's a half-full bottle of sandalwood, 1942. It was drop-dead beautiful then. I suspect it would be drop-dead beautiful today, but I don't know that. If I ever find it, Anjali, I'll tell you. That's the only answer I have. Okay, next question. Alexa Martinek asked, what's my favorite CO2? Maybe from a lesser-known source. Okay, what's my favorite child? It's the same kind of question. For efficacy, from a lesser-known source, mango ginger CO2. We have never seen an anti-inflammatory like this. Christy uses it for arthritis in her hands and wrists. She gets more pain relief from that than from any of our other singles. And why we're not blending with it, I don't know. We're tossing ideas around for a blend. So that's one. For favorites, the roses, of course. Lilac CO2. It's very mild. It's not going to take over the room. You don't want to diffuse it. You want to put a drop on your wrist and then do this. And for me, it takes me back to my bedroom when I was growing up. It's a New England smell that brings me home. Private stash. Ruth Nelson, I don't honestly have a private stash. The 1942 sandalwood that I told you about should be my private stash, but I sent it home. I lost it, so much for that. I have one of our 2002 sandalwood samplers at home. 2 mils of Mysore sandalwood, true Mysore, 2002. A sandalwood CO2 Mysore from 2002, 2 Tamils. It's the little bitty 2 mil bottles. And then I have samples. We didn't buy this. It's a juniper berry CO2 that I didn't buy. It's a different one, so it's mine. Chris Boggs, don't tell me I'm the same age as your mother. Anyway, Iris CO2, this is a sample. Some samples go in giveaway boxes, some go home with me or with Christy. That's the advantage of being me and Christy. Next question. Julia Cheek, what are safety recommendations that used to be noticeably different in the past? Number 1, everyone said lavender can be used neat, tea tree can be used neat. Today we know better. At least the people who are paying attention know better. Okay, Chris, you can be one of the girls who calls me Mama. I'll allow it. Anyway, that's the big thing. Today, almost every responsible teacher, author, writer, or author, we'll combine the two, knows that there are risks to using any oil neat. And it's not worth doing. It's just not worth the risk. Just called in on my phone. I'm sorry, whoever it is, I declined it. I forgot about that happening. Anyhow, I hope we're still live. Yes, it says we're live. Hey, Lynette. We don't use the oils neat. If you're in the middle of the Amazon and you cut yourself with a machete, then you can pour some neat essential oil in the wound. Unless you're in the middle of the Amazon, don't do it, okay? That's one thing. Bath safety. We always made bath salts, Epsom salts. Add some essential oil. We have an online friend who was badly burned doing that. Epsom salts, any kind of salts, don't dissolve the oil in water. You need a diluent, you need liquid soap, you need heavy cream for real luxury. You need soluble, you need polysorbate, you need our bliss bath. All of these things will dissolve the oil that you're using in the water. A bath oil floats the water on top, and it's still not dispersed through the water. So those are the two safety things that come to mind. And I think the older books tend to give you stronger dilutions than we tend to use today. I know when I started blending, I was using Julia Child's not Julia Child, I'm cooking. I was using Valerie Werwood's first book, and she blended everything at 5%. That's okay for some things, and for pain relief, it's probably really effective. But I would start with 2 or 2.5% for adults. Those are the big changes in safety. What are some of the, Julia, what are some of the most important lessons you want us to remember for part of my journey, as part of my legacy? Number 1, safety. Number 2, quality. Please don't compromise. Every time I have made a buying decision based on price, it's come back to haunt me. Sometimes I've ended up selling it at cost to soap makers because they don't normally use the quality that aromatherapists use. Quality, and be who you are and say who you are. Don't try to pretend that your products are something that they're not. Don't say that this oil will cure cancer, but say it can help your emotions, it can help your spirit, it can ease pain. Thank you, Chris. What's my favorite carrier oil, and what is my favorite child? I'm going to, for every day, lots of use, I always have a 4-ounce bottle of apricot kernel oil at home. It absorbs quickly, it's really light, it's good for mature skin. In case you haven't noticed, I have mature skin. But the CO2 lipids, read my blog about it. I've posted 2 blogs. I love the brand new Abyssinian oil. Robert Tisserand said it was his favorite. I see why. You put it on your skin, you absorb it, it's gone. I like moringa. It lasts a long, long time, and it's not as heavy as, let's say, meadow form. I like marula. For cold-pressed oils, the apricot kernel, and maybe the Abyssinia. We use a lot of fractionated coconut. It is the best diluent, whichever, because it will never go rancid on you, and it's totally odorless. I have used jojoba with very delicate botanicals, and it will affect their aroma. So I use that for diluting, but not as a facial. And we'll save it. We'll save both of them, or however many it takes, and get them saved so you can come back. Bye. Next question. Sarah Cawley asked about my favorite aromatherapy book. And I wrote that down because I knew I'd forget some. But it comes back to favorite for who? The books that I refer to regularly are not the books I recommend for a beginner. So I wrote this down. I'm going to refer to my notes because I knew if I tried to wing this one, I'd forget some. For beginners, my all-time favorite is Roberta Wilson's Aromatherapy, A Guide to Health and Beauty. We have a brief review of the second edition. I had her first edition and loved it. Her second edition, she added a lot of carrier oils. She added hydrosols. She is the author that turned me on to the emotional uses of the oils. Hi, Amy. She and nobody else had written that. And that opened a whole new world to me. So I love her book. She gives a good balance about information about this oil and then formulas using it. It's not just a recipe book. You can learn from her. Laura Cantelli's book is a good one. I like Valerie Werwood's Healthy Child. I'm not crazy about her other books, but yeah, I like that one. If you want to use the oils with children, Valerie Werwood's Healthy Child. If you want to use them with animals, Kristen Lee Bell, Holistic Aromatherapy for Animals. I'm not sure. It's on my website on the book list. Chris can put up the link for you. For emotional uses, Gabriel Mohe, Aromatherapy for Healing the Spirit. It's an old one, but it's wonderful. Also, I think for beginners, Madeline's first book, Complementary Aromatherapy for Palliative Care. It's not just for hospice and for palliative care. It covers skin conditions, it covers pain relief, it covers emotional support, it covers respiratory issues. It's a wonderful book, and it was groundbreaking. She was the first one to write about using the CO2 extracts. I bought that in for my own use because I want to work with our local hospice. But when I got my copy, I started importing it to resell. More recently and more advanced books, Robert's Safety Book for advanced users. If you are blending for other people, if you have people you're blending for with health conditions, it's a huge investment, but you need it. Chris, I'm trying to read your question. I'll come back to your, who would I like to recognize? We'll come back to it. Other books. Scylla's Reference Manual. It's dated. It's old, and I wish she'd write a new one, but it's a great reference if you really quickly need to look up, what's this component? It's listed in the back. I've never heard of this oil. What is it? It's a reference. It's not a book you'd sit and read. Both of Sal Battaglia's books, I import them for a reason. They're very different. I think they're both important. Did I say Madeline's CO2 books? Oh, to learn about fixed oil, the powder of the seed, the power of the seed by Susan Parker. It's wonderful. It's the most recent book about the fixed oils, and one that's not on my website. If you want to learn about making skincare and personal care products, Danielle Sage in Canada, the Aromatherapy Beauty Guide, using the science of carrier and essential oils to create natural personal care products. Now, I haven't done a review of Susan's book. I am not sure I agree with her suggested preservatives for products, and I need to talk to her at greater length to get a clearer understanding. But other than that, it's a wonderful book with wonderful formulas. I would think about using a commercial preservative because germs grow. Who would I like to recognize for their contribution of aromatherapy? Oh, Scylla Shepherd Hanger, Gabriel Moheg, Robert Tisserand for his research for safety, Jane Buckle, and Kathy Duffy and Carol Scheidel for publishing and teaching evidence-based aromatherapy that the hospitals and the hospices and the institutions can accept. You know, I can say all day long that this oil has helped my clients, but if there's not a research study, a hospital or a hospice will not list it. And they teach the nurses and the professionals who go on to start certified clinical aromatherapy hospital programs. And that's wonderful. So the researchers, the authors, I have to credit Valerie Warwood. Hers was one of my first books. And I bet all of us started with her, all of us who've been around for 10, 15 years or more, started with Valerie, started with Shirley Price, started with, well, you know what, you see the history, but there are teachers in the U.S. who aren't on Facebook, who aren't well known. Jeannie Rose. I've never studied with her. We don't always agree, but she's one of our founders, and we owe her a debt of gratitude for that. Kurt Schnaubelt, and I forgot him on my list of books. He opens horizons. He's not for the beginner. And there are some people that say, he uses the oils internally. Yes, he does. But he treats conditions that people will die from. He's not for everybody. I respect him. Michael Scholes. Nobody hears from Michael today. He was around in teaching before I knew there was an aromatherapy world. A fellow in France, Michel Vinhove, He was one of the founders, one of the active members of the IDMA group, and he brought us together. Marsha Elston up in Washington, Samara Botane. Marsha was one of the people I learned from on the IDMA list years ago. There's a lot of people who were instrumental who aren't on Facebook and aren't out there socially, and you don't know about them. Jade Schutz, bless her heart, we've had our disagreements, but she speaks her truth, and I respect her and I love her. And sometimes I say, oh no, and sometimes people say, oh no, when I open my mouth, and that's okay. Laura Cantelli, the only USA print magazine, bravo. Christina Winton, thank you, I love reading that. There's so many people that went before us and shared so generously, and a whole lot of us wouldn't be here today if it weren't for them. And yeah, we have to respect them and thank them. One more question that I saw, Debbie Elsa, she asked a real hard question. If you weren't involved in aromatherapy, where do you think life may have taken you? What other things in life bring you joy as far as food, fun, hobbies? And I had to stop. Where would I be if it weren't for nature's gift? I don't know. I have no clue, because some of you know my story. Back in the early 90s, I was told I was totally disabled and I'd never work again. And that was the greatest blessing of my life, because it gave me time to study two things that fascinated me. The World Wide Web. I had been online for years, but the internet, the websites were new to me, and I had to learn how to write them. I had to learn how to do this. And I had discovered the oils, but didn't have time to study. So it gave me time to study and learn about the oils and to blend and to give my blends to friends. And then I was learning to write websites. Well, what am I going to write about? The oils. And that's how nature's gift came to be. So what would I be doing if I hadn't discovered the oils? I don't know if I'd be alive, because I'd be sitting home collecting disability, going mad from boredom. I don't know. And hobbies, what do I do for fun? I talk about the oils. Chris Boggs knows that. She came to visit for 15 minutes and we talked for 2 hours? Anyway, I've managed to structure my life so there isn't a whole lot of time for anything but nature's gift. It was insidious. I didn't plan to do that, but there's not a whole lot of time for anything else. So what I will do when I have no clue what my life will look like when I'm not doing this. Other passions, same thing. I don't have time for other passions, Julia Cheek. Politics, some of you know I have some very strong political feelings. When I was still a married suburban housewife, I was very involved in local politics. I would do that again. I still do to a degree, but I'd spend a lot more time writing letters that congressmen don't want to read, things like that. Julia Schmidt, if you're on a limited budget what oils must you have? We have to know who you are, what your goals are, what you want the oils to do for you. Do you have small children? Do you have health issues? All these questions affect what oils you need as a beginner. What a millennial should have really is different from what somebody in my generation should have. But for basics, a good lavender for all the 10 million uses of lavender. Either tea tree or manuka. Tea tree's cheaper. For germ killing and antiviral effects. A citrus for mood elevation. Sweet orange for just smile bringing. Or lemon for mental focus. Or green mandarin to help you sleep. But definitely one citrus. A conifer for both stress relief and for respiratory help. Those depends on your needs. And a good carrier oil, a long-lasting one, jojoba. I would go with jojoba. It's a good massager, a good diluent. And rather than buying more oils, I would buy some books. I would get to know that handful of 4 or 5 oils, study them, find all the possible uses, get samples of other oils. Add a new one, and every time you order, get samples of others that interest you. You don't need all the oils. You need books more than you need oils. Going on vacation, what are the most important oils to remember? I'm going to do a shameless commercial plug. Nature's Gift offers a vacation saver kit. We have our mosquito beater gel because you want something to prevent mosquitoes. We have our after the bite, something to treat mosquito bites because you'll forget to put the mosquito beater on. Something for aches and pains. Some trauma oil, again for aches and pains. Depends where you're going. If you're going someplace that don't drink the water, but you're going to drink the water, you want to take a strong antibacterial and something for digestion. If you're going to the beach, you want after the sun, something to soothe the sunburn. A sunburn depends where you're going on vacation. I think that's it. I think we've answered all the questions. And it's been 40 minutes. I think we're done. Are we done? Any more quick questions? I'll count to 20. And thank you. This has been fun. It's scary. I don't like cameras. I don't like videos. I don't like talking. And sometime I'm being part of an international web conference with a friend in Great Britain is putting together, so I've committed on that. So I'm going to end up doing this again. And I think in the Essential Learning Group, all 3 of the moderators, Sue Pace and Christina and I, are going to take turns doing this occasionally. So we'll be back. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for inviting me. It's been fun. Now I have to catch up on the work that I've not been doing. Love y'all. Bye-bye.